Hi there, my name is Evelyn Weiss. Since 2020, I've generated over 7 million in sales, over 33,000 paid subscribers, and over 60,000 customers. In this video, I want to share with you how to find and leverage your unfair advantages as a personal brand fueled business. The areas that I want to share with you and discuss with you are how to play a different game, how to use the unfair advantages you already have, how to leverage the power of consistency, how to build real authority, how to turn your setbacks into strategies, and last but not least, how to first work smarter and then harder. This video is a little bit front-loaded, meaning the earlier areas had more meaning and impact for me, so this is why I'll spend a little bit more time on those, and I'm going to be a little bit quicker towards the end. All right, so first, I want to talk about how to play a different game. The game of business is unfair, but if you can create your own games, you can introduce your own rules, and that gives you an unfair advantage. When playing a different games, I want to talk about how to create your own category, how to position yourself contrarian, and then how to master a micro niche and use something I called pond leaping to up level your personal brand. First, let's talk about category creation. I studied marketing in Austria, and I had a professor, and he was called Brandner. And he wrote this book called Brandner on Branding, where he introduced the concept of category kings. To give you an example of this is when Red Bull came on the market, it was not a caffeinated lemonade, right? It was also not a juicy coffee. They introduced the concept of an energy drink. And because they were the first energy drink, they basically became the king of that category. Another example is shapewear. There's traditional underwear, and then Spanx came and they were creating underwear that would shape you. Shapewear became its own category within underwear, and Spanx became category king because they were the first within that category. And I always try to leverage this for all of my efforts. Small product to big program. What do I mean by small product to big program? Everything I do, all the experience that I'm subjecting myself to, all the creative burden and effort that I make, I try to productize. And it can be as small as the welcome email that somebody gets after they're signing up for my workshop or strategic freebie. I made it its own category, its own product by calling it the everything I do email, right? And so now I have basically productized how we're writing this welcome email. I named it, and with that, I made it its own kind of category of email, right? And so when I'm now conversing with my students and with my customers about it, we now say, oh, can you share your everything I do email so we can analyze it and optimize it? And in the smaller context, this is just making my communication with my customers more efficient. But in the bigger context, because I'm doing it with everything that I touch, it creates a proprietary body of knowledge, and it anchors me with my students, but also with the world in a way that I am somebody who has a lot of signature frameworks, right? And who is king of many small categories, right? So it helps me to build authority overall. And the bigger the product, the more impactful this becomes, right? So I've done this with very small products like self-liquidating offers. A self-liquidating offer is basically a small entry point offer that helps you to turn cold traffic into a customer and an upgrade from there. It helps you to cover part of your ad spend, which is why we call it self-liquidating, right? So the pure purpose is to be able to fund your reach. And within those self-liquidating offers that I made, I also created categories, right? So for example, one of the struggles my customers had where they didn't know what tangible. That's another thing I came up with, right? So I always say, what tangibles do you have? What tangible deliverables do you have? One of the things that I help them with is to sell those tangible front-end offers to offset some of their cost for the ads, right? And to quicker turn a stranger into a customer. And one of the things that I help them with is to create their own coaching planner. When I came into the space, I used PLR items to fill up my funnel offer suite faster, which is also what inspired me to, together with my beautiful business partner, Jessa Bellman, create a PLR membership because those were so helpful for me in the beginning. And I realized some of the PLR products that I sold quite well were planners. I decided to create my own planners and really mastered the art of creation, because the PLR products I was using, they were not based on my own experience, but I recognized the importance of that. And so I created the concept of coaching planner. And while those things had been around in one shape or another, nobody was owning the concept. The same happened when I was having launching my first mini membership, which was the Coach Growth Hub. It was a $7 membership, again a self-liquidating offer, but that was just a recurring one. And people started to refer to it as in your mini membership. I realized that people are using that concept, so I wanted to own it. And I created a beta program around it really, really quickly, because people were like, oh, how do you grow your membership, etc. And I said, oh, well, everything changed when I introduced my mini membership. Would you like my help planning out your mini membership? I quickly owned the concept, and I dragged that thing where people already were having partial familiarity to, and where already a concept was forming. I was pulling that onto my corner. I was making it my thing. And because I now started to name it and refer to it, I started to form its own category. So I did that with the planner, with roadmaps, right? With coaching planners, with transformation roadmaps, where I created on a concept, with mini memberships. And it's something that I really, really actively do with all my offers, with all the resources that I create, because they help me within the resource itself to position it as a new opportunity, position myself as the prime provider of that opportunity, the category king, and overall positioning myself as a very innovative educator, right? Personal brand with a lot of unique solutions and frameworks. Think of categories and how to turn the things you create, the offers that you have, the byproducts of your work, taking on the existential and creative burden, how to title them and name them and make your own subcategories within existing categories. Again, like for example, the existing category is self-liquidating offers. Everybody knows this. Coaching planners are a subcategory within self-liquidating offers. They're a new opportunity, and I am the one who's helping people with that. So I am category king in that subcategory. And the more competitive, the more dynamic a niche is, the more effective is this, because people have familiarity, or at least partial familiarity, with the top concept, but because there's now a subcategory, this represents a new opportunity. And because you're the one who came up with the new opportunity, you are also the go-to for re-exploring that big idea that people are already curious about. I am in the digital marketing space, so for me, concepts that are already people already are familiar with, right, is the idea of launching, of email marketing, of self-liquidating offer funnels, of memberships, right? And so by introducing my own subcategories of that, people can re-explore that opportunity from a different angle with you as the guide. Make your own game by creating your own subcategories in markets and around categories where there already is a lot of interest. The specificity and the newness of it will make it very, very attractive, and you being the first will make you the go-to. Another example of playing your own game is contrarian positioning, right? So whenever we're seeing a strong trend in a market, if we have values that don't align with that strong brand, or experiences that provide contradicting evidence, that's a huge opportunity for us. At a time where everybody was going towards high ticket, which is when I came in the industry in 2020, I was talking about high ticket is broken, and a lot of how people were doing it was actually broken, right? So people would sell a high ticket offer to unqualified leads that had no business buying this, and it was people that had no business selling this because they didn't have the experience. And by me calling this out and being very, very focused on low ticket, offering an alternative to make a significant living with low ticket, which is what I embodied and demonstrated through my memberships, I was offering an alternative on the market. This is a variation of the category, because it is, instead of making a subcategory under something that is in a lot of demand, you're basically flipping it and you're saying there are reasons why this does not work. Let me solve them by flipping what the current thing is into the opposite. Another example, not me owning this, but people owning this, is vegan nutrition versus carnivore, right? Complete opposites. People who are really, really strict with fitness and calorie tracking, etc., versus fitness minimalism, right? only eat like the same meals every day, keep it as simple as possible, do only few exercises but do them properly versus having an elaborate workout plan. Think about what opportunities are very, very popular with people and maybe have been for a while, because opportunities in any market also have a life cycle. And then think of when they are at the peak or going towards decline. A lot of people have now explored this opportunity. How can you flip that into the opposite and offer your own solution to the very, very same problem, but it's a contrarian path, right? So this is really, really powerful. So it's not going below it, more specific and new and branded. It's going straight against it by solving all of the problems that the solution is creating. And if I can tell you anything, every position has advantages. Every solution has its upsides, right? And its trade-offs, right? So there's big advantages towards, for example, launching, the kind of income spikes you can create and how effective they are. But there's also trade-offs, right? It's very taxing. The perceived risk is really, really high because of the time and financial commitment to it. And this is also why we're seeing in industries cycle of trends, right? So people get really, really excited about the new opportunity, right? They have the uninformed optimism about it. They go through the opportunity. They're like, oh, there's also downsides to it. And then there's a new opportunity that addresses those downsides. And they're like, oh, now this is the thing that actually, brings the transformation. And it's just how humans think. Humans are always looking for the perfect solution because it's hard for them to wrap their head around the fact that there is no perfect solution, right? Because while I can find many arguments for why traditional high ticket is broken, traditional high ticket coaches might be able to find a lot of reasoning why low ticket is not working. For example, you need to sell 10,000 $100 products versus 100 $10,000 products, and how much easier is it to sell 100 people than to sell 10,000 people. So there's arguments for both sides. You find an unfair advantage when you are the one articulating your side more eloquently. And this does not have to be deceptive. I would say, and this is something that Hormozi articulated so well, the more you can own the flaws of your opportunity, the more transparent you appear, the more convincing you can be in how you're articulating the upside of the opportunity, right? So he gives this cool example, or this very, very well-suited example from 8 Mile, where Eminem is coming out in the battle and he first owns all of his flaws before destroying his opponent. And when you are working with contrarian positioning, that's the place where you want to come from. You want to be the one calling out and reframing the downside of your opportunity before articulating the upside and basically addressing the downsides of the other opportunities. And it's a big opportunity for you as well, because when you become so cognizant of the downsides of your opportunity, you can create solutions for this problem that actually can become the bonuses for your program that then handle those objections. We have to be aware about it. So contrarian positioning, very, very powerful in creating your own game. And I can guarantee you that 99% of your competition has not thought this through, so they don't even understand what game you're playing here. All right, then we have productizing experiences versus knowledge. I've been really, really big on this, and it has given me such an unfair advantage. My idea of creating value on the market is to take off existential and creative burden, right? So we're having markets where people are wanting to avoid risk. They seek comfort. They seek confirmation before they can even put effort into something. I made a video about this. I created a business plan for you where I talk more about this concept. I've been rewarded so disproportionately from the market for doing that. And here's a very tangible example of what this looks like. I will set myself an ambitious goal and I will walk through the goal, tracking every step that I do. So here I, for example, templatized my journey towards $50,000 months, and I gave that full transparency for people. I gave the mindset, I gave exactly how I developed my products, and I delivered it with the tool and then a video walkthrough of the tool, putting this into perspective. And this was really my exact experience, what I did templatize. And I have been doing this with my transformation roadmaps ever since. My current go-to funnel is an almost evergreen workshop. I'm having once a month a live workshop, and for the rest of the month, it's going to replay on the waiting list. Then once a month, I have a official opening, and during the month I have secret openings towards the membership, the waiting list for the membership. And so I've done this myself, and then again with students. And now I have gathered all of the experience to know exactly what steps are necessary in what quality. And I've been able to boil it down to the exact steps that we need to be doing. And one thing that I'm working on right now is then again, for the step, what's the template, what's the tool, what's the resource, and then walking through the step, what exactly do you need to do in what quality, right? And so this is productized, distilled experience. And with that, it will always be more valuable than knowledge, right? Because people have the tools, like they have the emails, they have the ad templates, they have the exact campaign setup. And only if you've walked that path more than once and you have other people, will you be able to create a resource in this great depth, right? And so this is something that nobody can take away from you, because you set yourself an ambitious goal and you walk there to figure it out, and now you're templatizing that experience. Nobody can replicate this. Nobody can have the same course as I do, and especially not now that I already walked it and templatized it to that extent. I have made again a new opportunity, a new category within launching. There is multi-day launches like challenges and boot camps, etc. And then there is webinar launches. So if you're thinking about what is this, I've created a subcategory of a webinar launch. I modernized it. I solved the problems like people are not attending through live streaming to YouTube, etc. Right? So I was very, very aware of what downside does the opportunity have where I'm positioning myself contrarian towards. And then I introduced basically a new version of the 1-day launch, which is the Almost Evergreen workshop that solves a lot of the problems that a traditional webinar launch has. But it's now a completely new category and solution again. It's the Almost Evergreen workshop, and the quality in which I delivered it cannot be matched by somebody who now wants to do it after me, because this is already now born and complete. And this is a huge unfair advantage, because what can also happen in personal brand informed businesses and at online education businesses is like, you find a great idea on what people want, you sell the knowledge of how to do it, but you're too general about it, so now others can kind of piggyback on the idea. When you're productizing your experience versus knowledge, it's very, very hard for people to replicate, because you literally captured your unique experience and the way you have done it because of who you are with all the past experiences and all the skills that you have. Now, last but not least, in how to play a different game, I want to talk about micro niche mastering and pond leaping. So when we are creating those solutions, we want to think of the smallest solution viable based on our experience, and then we want to leap into a bigger pond because of that. Let me take it at that, for example, from Red Bull, right? So Red Bull created the energy drinks. The founder also, Mateschitz, he's Austrian as well. He was using his personal brand and the brand of Red Bull to leap into a bigger pond. When we are excellent in one niche, and the smaller it is, the easier it will be to be excellent, we can translate that brand onto other things. We can leap into bigger ponds. Mateschitz did that by starting to sponsor sports teams, right? And so he was leaping Red Bull into a whole experience brand with merch and with multiple business segments into a media company. But he started with the drink. He started with the brand. And so when I think about this for myself, the first solution that I was offering was I was able to grow a Facebook group more affordably than others. People would use a campaign where they would send people through a bridge page and then encourage people to join the group on the thank you page of that bridge page. And I was using Facebook lead generation campaigns with instant forms where everything was on the platform and where I could directly redirect from the thank you page of the instant form to the Facebook group. And I was getting leads for a fourth of the cost than other people would get on the group member on average, right? And so that was the smallest thing. And I immediately made it a thing as well. I became my own case study showing how quickly I was able to grow a group. And then I was offering something at the end. And that was the first solution that I was selling, right? So it was just growing the Facebook group and making an offer at the end. Again, I templatized all of the experience that I made so people can replicate that. And when I had the first people seeing success with it, and I started to have more solutions that would work for myself, I would start to leap into bigger opportunities. From there, when I had my group, I wanted to grow faster. I had a first self-liquidating offer. So now people were coming to me and saying, oh, how do you do that? Right? And then how do you do that? And the thing is with the niche mastery and the pond leaping is you just need to have one really, really small solution, help people, get the proof that you can help people. And then once you have proof that you can solve a problem for people and that they make progress with you, that assumption can translate into bigger and bigger solutions. And in the sense of bigger and bigger solutions, it just means that you keep walking your path. You keep finding solutions for yourself. And like I explained also in that video where I said I made a business plan for you, or in the membership video as well, you want to select a goal for yourself where you're like, this is the person I want to grow into. These are the problems I want to solve for myself. And it's not only true for business, right? It's also true for other niches. Like, where do you want to grow to? For example, if I was now to start a fitness brand, the first ambitious goal I would set for myself is, how do I learn the splits? And I would document the journey and I would figure out, what is working for me, what are the problems, in like a really, really nuanced way. So then I would have an entry point solution would be like, okay, I make pop-up program accountability, help you to get the same outcome. Well, then from there, I can go into bigger like flexibility for your body, but also for your mind, right? So it can be an entry point for a much bigger transformation that I offer. The thing is that I need to have the clarity as in what's the path that I'm walking on. And if you want to learn more about that, I highly recommend you're checking out my video about how I'd start a membership. The clarity component that I share in there is the same no matter what offer you have, whether you're having a membership or whether you're having another product. If you want to be an in-demand personal brand, then you would want to have that vision for yourself. And it works for any of that. Make your board, make your vision board, and capture your inner North Star. All right, so that's how I am playing a different game. Create your own categories. Use contrarian position, go against the grain, informed by your real values and ethics. Productize your experience. Don't sell knowledge, sell your experience. You have to be on that path. Start with the smallest desirable goal you can achieve, and then leap into a bigger pond and bigger pond and bigger pond and bigger pond. Okay? Another example of this is actually also Alex Hormozi, right? So he was first running his own gyms, then he was able to help other gym owners, then he was able to license how others can help other gym owners, and then he sold his business. And from the experience of building a business to sell, he started a portfolio business, right? And so it's like this upward spiral of getting better and always being able to productize the latest experience you have gained. That's how you're creating your own game. Now, how do you master your unfair advantages, the ones you already have? Okay, so first thing is to go where you are valued. I put a picture here of water from the supermarket and the water in the airport, right? So when you're buying a water bottle at the airport, you're paying a premium, a multiple of what it costs to buy the same bottle of water in the supermarket. And this is because your unique skills and experiences and traits, they're worth more in one place versus the other. So my background was actually in e-commerce. I did work a corporate job and I was head of marketing in e-commerce. And at that specific job, my unique traits and experiences and skills and ambitions had a value of a certain extent, right? No matter how good I was or would have become, my growth potential was limited by the opportunity I was in. I was getting paid around, I think, 2,000 euros a month. And that was reasonable for the opportunity I was in. The place where I was positioned, I could have not created more value because of the constraints I was surrounded in. When I was then shifting and I was starting to help people with e-commerce, there was a similar phenomenon happening to me that I just couldn't find. I was not well positioned enough to find those opportunities in my immediate surroundings, right? And so when I was seeing that there was actually more demand for people who are able to sell courses and personal brand offers with ads, I realized that what I have learned in the other places that I served would be uniquely valuable over there, because I learned to sell a lot of small things with a lot of small margins And the ad accounts that I had seen was that there were people who sell a few things for a high ticket price with really high margins, but their ad spend is inefficient because they don't have to make it more efficient. So I had an unfair advantage if I deployed my experiences and skills and traits and beliefs in that marketplace. And this is how I became more valued there. It's because I positioned myself somewhere where I was able to contribute more value, where there were no constraints around how much I can contribute, right? So think about where your skills and your experiences and the things that you're good at the most valuable. And that's a location kind of thing. It's where do you want to position yourself strategically on the game field. Now, another unfair advantage you already have is telling now in that context that you want to be perceived in, right? Because you make that hypothesis that what you have experienced is particularly valuable in that market. You now want to tell your story as it is relevant for this market. And here, for example, I told the story of how I got into marketing and how I eventually landed with what I'm doing right now, based on a story of how my dad was trying to build up a subscription business at one point. And when I'm now, from the opportunity that I'm in, looking back, I can see a red line kind of bringing me to this point. And by verbalizing this, you are creating an unfair advantage for yourself because you help people to understand how uniquely you're positioned to contribute value in their market and solve the problems that they have. So telling your story in retrospective from the positioning that you chose because you are that positioning is so well for you and what you're bringing to the table is incredibly powerful. And the cool thing is, because nobody has lived your life, nobody can tell the story that you can. So use storytelling, but use it wisely from that perspective of understanding first, where can I contribute a disproportionate amount of value because the market makes it so, right? I'm amplifying what is there. And then when you're looking at your story, tell it from that perspective. And by the way, this is not saying make something up, make it sound like that. It's like take the time to really try to understand, like, how did we get here and what parts of my story are relevant for the customer that I have here right now. All right, double down on your strengths. This took me a long time to understand. I always thought I have to be better. So for example, I suck at operational management, like really. I am a creative, I'm fast, I can write well, but I'm not the most organized person, although people have that assumption about me, which is, because excellent translates. I had people wanting my relationship advice because I'm good at business, but I'm actually not quite organized. And I always thought I have to get better at that. I have to solve that problem. Well, the truth is that I now have people in my organization that are very good at this, and for them it comes naturally. So I can, and their hourly rate is lower than my hourly rate. So I can trade up my time, get the things that would take me a long time to get to at least like a decent level somewhere else. So I can spend more time where I am already good, so I can go into full mastery. And if you can free yourself up, and in the beginning you'll have to wear many hats, right? So that also has to be okay with you. In the beginning I had to wear all the hats, and even though I was not good at organization, I had to do it to the best of my abilities. But as you grow in your business, try to be as mindful as you can about what are the things where you're naturally good at versus what are the things that you are not good at, and try to get them away from you as much as possible. It would have not made sense for me to learn how to edit, for example, because my time gets a better return when I'm spending more time, for example, in telling my stories, in crafting and delivering my offers, in going through and productizing my experience. This is where my time is deployed the best. And the other things where I'm not good at, I need to get others to do them that have a lower hourly rate than I am, so I can trade up my time. So don't try to fix your weaknesses. Try to outsource your weaknesses as soon as possible so you can double down on your strength, so you can become a true master, right? I mean, like top 1% of the world. And only if you free yourself up, right? So Djokovic, the tennis player, he also does not learn how to do his gardening. He needs to be focused on his game, right? And getting better at that. And so that's how you would want to think about that. Now, also owning your weirdnesses and flaws. I am by no means perfect, right? I make many mistakes like everyone, but I always find a way to productize my mistakes. One example that I love to give at this point is Anik Singhal. He got sued by the FTC for his marketing practices, got a reset in his business and financially. But now he uses that experience, right, that mistake that he makes, and he founded the Compliance Academy, a SaaS tool that's called Complyly, where we can check our copy and see if we're compliant in our copy. And actually looking at that, I think this is such a big success story, right? Because he took his failure and he turned it into a better outcome eventually for him. And another variation of this is to also own your weirdness or your flaws. So, for example, one of the things that I'm struggling with since I'm a little child is I get these nasty, huge, humongous cold sores. And I used to not go on video, and I would even try to postpone coaching calls or have to have them with camera off or provide video feedback instead when I would have like one of those huge cold sores. And then I had the blessing that it happened to me during a one-day event with Alex Shamosi, right? I felt like, oh my goodness, now everyone, all of my peers, and one of the mentors I look up to saw me like this. And then I realized how freeing it was, because I was like, since everybody already saw me like this, now there's kind of nothing to lose anymore. And so now I can just have my calls and do my meetings and record my videos, even when I have it. And what I realized is that people were responding so kindly to it because I said that to them, right? So I told again that unique experience, that story. I used the storytelling to put it in perspective, and I said, that experience actually freed me. It was like kind of when you're going to such a big event, right? And then you having your nice clothes and you want to be put together and you want to be presentable and you're filmed and all of these things. And then this is kind of the last thing you want to have happen to yourself. And then it happens to you. Well, I was able to turn that around into a story that actually made me more human and more likable by saying, that happened to me, but now I actually use it to empower myself, because I say, I have nothing to lose. Now everybody knows this anyway, so it's not a limitation for me anymore. And I told that story and I got so many lovely emails back, from the nicest tips, like what do you do when you get one, and personal stories, and people thanking me and saying, I also struggle with this, all the way to people who are like, oh, I never struggled with this, but I know people, and I feel for you. So own your flaws, own your weirdness. It's beautiful. It makes you more unique. Now, another thing that all of this, what I said until now, allows you to do is to be really fast. I can be really fast because I am just subjecting myself to the experience. I'm helping others to do it. And for that reason, I create a lot of content every single day, because I'm helping others to do it and I'm debriefing myself every day. So I'm really, really fast at creating things, getting things out there, pulling things that become a thing into my corner. And this is something you would really want to focus on. There's this one quote that I really love, which is, it's not the big fish that eat a small fish, it's the fast fish that eat the slow fish. So I would encourage you to use the agility that you have when you're not trying to overcome your weaknesses, and when you're embracing your weirdness and your flaws and things being imperfect, and when you're honestly telling your stories, right? All of that will accelerate you, because you stop overthinking, because you stop over engineering, because you stop over polishing, and you can just serve and execute in real time. And it's a fast fish that eats slow, so this is an unfair advantage for you. Leveraging the power of consistency. Everything we're doing on a consistent basis, it compounds. You would want to be relentlessly present and take care of your own distribution. I just published a video on my YouTube channel about how I am taking care of my own content distribution, right? So it would be a little bit too much for this video, but I would love for you to actually check it out to see how I am going about owning my content distribution. And when I say like be present relentlessly, I am in my own paid communities with my members every single day. I send valuable nurture emails to my list 2 to 3 times a week. We're publishing at least one YouTube video per week, and I'm posting in the Schoolers community, formerly School Games community, almost every single day. People see me a lot, and on top of that, I then distribute those content efforts in my ads. So I'm creating more multiple touch points with people. I'm making the heck sure that I am top of mind for people. I am relentless in this effort because I never want people to forget that I exist and I'm over here doing the work with my people who are here to do the work with me, and we're all making progress. Be consistent, leverage content, own your own distribution and have your schedules, your commitments, and ads help you to be omnipresent and always top of mind for people. I always say I want people to be almost tired of me. Then I know I've been relentlessly present enough for them, because you never know when somebody, in their current opportunity or the current thing that they're doing or the current procrastination is reaching a tipping point with, I actually want to take action. And then it's great if you're top of mind. This ties in with building real authority. So in that very same video, I also shared how I am using the back of my ads and specific campaign setups to build up social proof on the content pieces I'm distributing. And from there, how I'm getting people to come back to my profiles, may that be my Facebook page or my Instagram profile, to follow me. And this is helping me to build up more authority, because people don't go to the best. People go to who they think are the best. And an indication of you are being the best is a combination of you having a lot of proprietary stuff, being top of mind with value, and then others appreciating it. So, which is why you would also want to strategically focus on also being perceived as the go-to, as the top. Now, turning setbacks into strategies. I talked a little bit about this concept here in owning your weirdnesses and flaws, but I want to dive in a little bit deeper here. So the first thing is to have a reflective and debriefing practice. A lot of the gold for potential offers and products and unique content that you'll create is found when you are having a reflective practice. You have to know, where are you going as an entrepreneur and as a human? What's the growth journey that you're on with this business, with all the other things that you own? Who are the people that you want to talk to? Now, on any given day, I would debrief my day, and I'm recording myself with Loom. I'm talking out all my thoughts. It's on a private account because I really want this to be for me. And very often I will use those content or those brain dumps for content creation and for ideas. And I find a lot of the signature insight that I'm sharing and frameworks in those daily reflections. And then also when I'm doing things for my marketing, I am going even deeper, and I will know, for example, this is from a live launch, I will know all my numbers. So I will do a quantitative debrief, and I also will have a qualitative, only know the German word. Debrief, as in, okay, what worked well, what can I improve across different dimensions. And then I have also some additional questions around how did I feel, my energy management, etc. I do a lot of debriefing, and I think this is really what gave me an unfair advantage. I'm not riding the bike and falling and getting back on and falling and getting back on. I'm riding the bike, I'm falling, I'm like, oops, what went wrong? What did I do good? What can I do differently the next time? Okay, let me test that hypothesis. So then when I'm also trying to teach others to ride the bike, I have all of those micro nuances, like, hey, like when I'm swinging up too much, then I start to egg in one direction. And so we don't want to swing up too much, right? We want to do it like this. The debriefing is where you can really, really find that experience gold, but then where you also can make sure you are holding yourself on track and you're staying really consistent in the direction that you're walking in. So properly debrief. It's the most important thing. If you're not making that part, how are you going to go to your next hypothesis and to your next cycle of execution? Another example is here. Very often I found the answer in the roadblock, right? So I think there's this, is it a book? Is it a saying? Like, the obstacle is the way. This has been true for me so many times. So for example, when I couldn't sell my main membership and I eventually closed the doors for enrollment, right? So I was switching to a waiting list model. One of my problems was that between launches, the churn would kind of eat away from the membership, and then the next launch would probably just fill up to that point again, right? So my membership would plateau. So I was like, oh, I need to find ways to grow it in the meantime. And that's when I came up with my first mini membership. It has happened to me multiple times in business that whatever I thought was the problem actually was ultimately the solution. Another element of this is just going forward with radical transparency and just speaking out what you think. I would often have very successful promotions where I would be honest with people, and it's like, hey, I'm actually currently promoting this, but I completely forgot about that. And so I just want to make sure to mention this. And so primary thing is this here, but if you're interested in this, then also check out that. And so it's like the problem was, oh, I forgot, like I did not properly schedule my promotions. Well, the solution is to just radically transparently say that to people so that the problem becomes the solution. Oh, I did that wrong. but I don't want you to miss out. And so I'm sending both, and then you can decide what's best for you. If you need a little decision help, here's what I'm thinking about it. Very, very often, what we perceive is the problem is actually the solution. And very often, what we need to overcome and learn to make things work are the most valuable pieces of our experience. May that be because we're sharing it in our free content and it builds that trust and rapport to buy our other offers, or because they're becoming a part of the offer. And last but not least, I want to talk about working smarter than harder. Two components here. I would love for you to check out this video, How to Become the Most Productive Person You Know. I talk about two things. And this is the how to identify what you're working on, and then the how you're working on this. When you want to work smarter the way I do, I would recommend that you're watching this video. I think there's no point in repeating this. And the other element of this is to always pre-sell and co-create. One of the reasons why I was able to move so fast is because whenever I had a hypothesis about something becoming a thing, I would thingify it. I would make it its own brand within its own category, and I would pre-sell it. That allowed me to validate the demand and then co-create with people, so I can not only have my own experience templatized, but also see where people are struggling with and what additional experience from serving them and solving the problem for them I need to supplement to make this a holistic concept that works for more people than just myself, right? And so I would always recommend to try to work with as many, as diverse people as possible to really craft those holistic solutions from your experience. And this is also a part here that will give you that authority. It's like you really want to work with a big volume of people and help people from many different starting points in the journey, because then you much more holistically understand how you're helping people with, and it will translate into the content that you make, into the offers you create, into the stories you tell. So try to work with as many different people as possible to really develop that solution intelligence, as in like, what does it mean to get to this outcome in practice for multiple different people depending on their individual starting points. And the best way to do this is to pre-sell and then co-create. And the cool thing is it gives you also an unfair advantage because it makes you really fast. Now, as soon as you see a thing is becoming a thing, you can own it very quickly, pull it into your positioning, walk the path, and then help others. So you're shaping it in this very unique way that is very hard to replicate for anyone else. So these are the unfair advantages that I have used to grow my business, and I hope you found this helpful and insightful, and I see you in another one.